As a collector of oddities and curiosities, I couldn't resist the allure of an old antique shop tucked away in a quiet, forgotten corner of town. It was there, amid dusty shelves and dimly lit aisles, that I stumbled upon the most peculiar find of my life, a mirror that exuded an aura of malevolence. The antique shop, its sign barely readable, had an air of neglect about it. A bell above the door tinkled softly as I entered, announcing my presence to no one but the shadows that danced in the corners. The mirror stood in the center of the shop, its ornate frame tarnished with age. It beckoned to me like a siren, and my curiosity compelled me to draw nearer. Upon closer inspection, I marveled at the craftsmanship. The glass was smudged and the silver backing was worn, but there was an undeniable elegance to the frame. It was a mirror from a bygone era, and I knew I had to have it. The shopkeeper, an elderly man with rheumy eyes, appeared from the depths of the store. "Ah, that mirror," he said, his voice quivering. "A relic from the past it is. Beware, young one, for it holds a dark secret." I chuckled, dismissing his warning as the ramblings of an eccentric shopkeeper. I paid him for the mirror and carried it home, determined to restore it to its former glory. That night, as I polished the glass, I noticed something strange, a distortion in the reflection. It was subtle, like a ripple on the surface of water. I brushed it off as a trick of the light and went to bed. In the dark of night, I awoke to a whispering wind that seemed to emanate from the mirror. I thought it was a dream until I saw her, a twisted, grotesque version of myself, contorted and consumed by terror, staring back at me. She reached out as if to escape her prison, her eyes pleading for release. I recoiled in horror, stumbling backward out of bed. The room was empty, the mirror reflecting only my frightened face. My heart pounded, and I tried to convince myself it had been a nightmare, a trick of my mind. But the next night, the nightmare returned. Each time I awoke, the twisted reflection grew more distorted, more grotesque, mirroring my deepest fears and anxieties. I dared not look into the mirror anymore, but I could hear it whispering, mocking, and tormenting me. Days turned into weeks, and I became a prisoner in my own home, the mirror's malevolence spreading like a cancer. My friends and family grew concerned as I withdrew from the world, my sanity slipping away with each passing night. Desperation drove me to research the mirror's origins. I discovered a legend, a tale of a cursed artifact created by a vengeful sorcerer centuries ago. The mirror was said to feed on the fears and nightmares of those who gazed into it. Growing stronger with each soul it trapped, I realized that if I didn't act, I would be consumed by the mirror's malevolence. Armed with newfound knowledge, I hatched a plan. I would confront the mirror, face my deepest fears head-on, and break the curse that bound us. With trembling hands, I stood before the mirror once more, my reflection contorted into a nightmarish visage, a grotesque embodiment of my fears. I summoned every ounce of courage, determined to free myself. In that moment of sheer willpower, the mirror shattered into 1,000 pieces, each shard releasing a spectral wail that echoed through the room. I collapsed to the floor, shaken but victorious. The malevolence was gone, but the scars on my soul remained. I had glimpsed the darkest recesses of my mind, and the mirror's curse had left its mark. I knew I would never be the same. As I collected the shattered remnants of the mirror, I couldn't help but wonder how many others had fallen victim to its insidious power. The antique shop, with its foreboding aura, had become a distant memory, a place I dared not visit again. The mirror's malevolence had been vanquished, but its legacy would haunt me forever, a chilling reminder that some mysteries were best left untouched, and that darkness could reside even in the most beautiful of objects, the Room of Shadows. I've always been fascinated by old, abandoned buildings, the kind that most people avoid like the plague. It's not that I'm particularly brave, I just can't resist the allure of history and mystery. So when I heard about the Forsaken Manor, a decaying mansion hidden in the woods, I couldn't resist the temptation to explore it. The rumors surrounding Forsaken Manor were chilling. People said it was cursed, that anyone who entered never returned. Of course, I dismissed these tales as mere superstition, but there was one detail that piqued my interest: the Room of Shadows. Legend had it that the room was hidden somewhere deep within the mansion, concealed behind a hidden door. It was said to be a place where shadows danced of their own accord, where the darkness held a life of its own. Many claimed it was a portal to another world, a place where the living should never tread. On a moonless night, armed with a flashlight and fueled by equal parts curiosity and recklessness, I ventured into the woods. Forsaken Manor loomed before me, its decaying facade like a giant tombstone. Eerie silence surrounded the mansion, and even the crickets seemed to be holding their breath. The front door creaked open with an agonizing groan, as if reluctant to admit me. Cobwebs clung to every surface, and the air smelled of dampness and decay. It was clear that no one had been here for decades. Room by room, I explored the mansion, each step echoing through the empty corridors. Paintings of long-forgotten faces stared down at me, their eyes following my every move. The sense of being watched was inescapable, but I pressed on, searching for the elusive room of shadows. Hours turned into a sleepless night, and fatigue gnawed at my resolve. Just as I was about to give up, I stumbled upon an inconspicuous door tucked away in a dimly lit hallway. It was partially hidden behind a tattered tapestry, just as the legends had described. With trembling hands, I pushed the door open and stepped into a room unlike any other. The air grew colder, and an otherworldly chill ran down my spine. The room was almost entirely bare, save for a massive, ornate mirror that dominated one wall. The mirror was unlike any I'd ever seen. It seemed to drink in the light, reflecting nothing but darkness. As I approached it, my flashlight flickered and died, leaving me in near complete darkness. Then I saw them, shadows within the mirror, writhing and contorting, taking on grotesque, unnatural forms. Panic welled up inside me as I realized I had stepped into the infamous room of shadows. Desperate to escape, I turned to leave, but the door had vanished, leaving me trapped. The room was alive with sinister whispers that seemed to emanate from the mirror itself, urging me to stay. I gazed into the mirror one last time, and that's when I saw it. A reflection, not of myself, but of a nightmarish creature. Its eyes empty voids of despair, its twisted limbs reaching out toward me. With every ounce of strength, I tore my eyes away from the mirror and began to scream. The room shuddered, and the mirror shattered into countless shards, releasing a deafening cacophony of wails that pierced my very soul. As the echoes of torment faded, I found myself back in the dimly lit hallway, the door to the room of shadows gone. The mansion seemed to exhale a sigh of relief, as if it had expelled an unwanted intruder. I stumbled out of Forsaken Manor, my heart pounding with terror. The legends were true, and I had narrowly escaped the room of shadows. I knew then that some mysteries were never meant to be unraveled, some doors never meant to be opened. The Forsaken Manor stood as a solemn sentinel in the woods, a dark and foreboding secret hidden within its decaying walls. It was a place I would never forget, a place that had left its mark on my very soul, a place I would never venture near again.